Hello, welcome. My name is Brenda Price. I am the Associate State Director for Outreach at AARP Michigan. Welcome to our program. We are so delighted to have you today. This is Women's History Month, and our program is Women Redefining Their Futures, Career Changes After Age 50. And we know that there's a lot of that going on, has been going on for a while. We're just bringing some attention to some fabulous women who have made some changes that might be influential to you. We would like to know where you're from. So please post in the comments section where you're viewing this from. If you're from Michigan, if you're on a beach in Florida somewhere where I would like to be, post it, please. So as we move forward with this program, I'd like to give you a little background on AARP. AARP was actually founded by a woman. And that is why we want to tell this story in every Women's History Month. We step up and talk about the courageous work that women are doing in this country. Started by a woman over 60 years ago, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrews founded AARP in 1958. Dr. Andrews was a disruptor. Like many women, she saw that there was a need for change. So she acted on it. She defied convention and challenged stereotypes her entire life. It was uncommon for women to pursue higher education, but not for her. She got her PhD. She became the first high school principal in the state of California. She founded the National Retired Teachers Association. So she definitely was a game changer in her life. And she founded AARP after she retired. So it is because of her that we are here today. In the 1950s, America saw workers routinely forced out of the workforce at age 65, and she was a witness to this. She, in her founding of AARP, was actually doing some work on healthcare and wanted to reach out to some retired teachers to find out what was going on in their world as it related to healthcare. And she was looking for a woman. And when she found this woman, the woman was actually living in a chicken coop because she could not afford anything else. So this was an eye opener. She saw that retired teachers were struggling without health insurance and living on small pensions. She saw insurance companies canceling auto policies for people at age 65, rising premiums to unaffordable levels for this population, automatically categorizing anybody of a certain age as a reckless driver. So she sought to do something about it. She was a game changer, as I said, a disruptor, a social change agent in the 50s. So when she created the Retired Teachers Association, she focused on developing solutions to problems. And that's what many women do. We know that's what you do, whether you're doing it at home, in the office, or in your business. So she sought the opportunity to widen opportunities and get rid of negative aging stereotypes in the 50s, but by using a collective voice of people. She fought for affordable health insurance for older Americans and believed that their collective purchasing power should qualify them for group health insurance. We think that's a given because it's the world we live in today. Group health insurance still doesn't mean everybody has it, but no company would write a policy. She was turned down 42 times in her attempt to get group health insurance. Nevertheless, she persisted, finally creating the first group health insurance program for older Americans in the country a decade before Medicare. So she was a game changer. At this point, I want to introduce some current day Ethel Androses to you. We are going to have them today. They're going to share their stories, the work that they've done, the work that they're doing, and work that they may advance to later. So I'm going to bring on today to share with me in this discussion a fabulous woman who is an AARP volunteer, Dr. Geneva Williams.
Very,
Dr. Geneva. Hi, how are you?
Oh, Brenda. Oh my gosh, that story about AARP's founding. I never knew it.
Yes, yes, yes. Founded by a woman, a phenomenal woman. So,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yes.
It's
Oh
a
my
very,
goodness.
very interesting story. And her work continues today
Yes.
as we grow across America with people participating in AARP at all ages, not just age 50 plus. We have a lot of younger members who recognize that the resources that we're offering are beneficial to families as a whole, not
Yes.
just an individual. When we fight for Social Security, that benefits the grandchildren to come. So her work has just continued to go as we continue to advocate. Now, I just want to give a brief introduction of Dr. Geneva. She has had a fabulous career and continues as an entrepreneur in this life. And she and I have touched base over the years in many capacities. I'm not going to tell you all about her because I'm going to interview her at the end of the program. But today she has a podcast. She sends out encouraging messages of wisdom to women every day. I get an email from her, and sometimes I just have to respond and say thank you because it was words that I needed to hear that day to encourage me. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing. So Dr. Geneva is going to lead this conversation, and we're going to come back and find out more about her work later. I'm going to sign off, and our guests are going to come, and they're going to have a good time. So one word to the audience. Please put your comments and questions in the chat. We will get to them. This is a participatory process. We want to hear from you. Tell us some of your stories. That's okay too in the chat. Thank you. I'm going to sign off for right now, Dr. Geneva.
Absolutely, Brendan. Thank you so much. What an incredible leader Brenda Price is. And we're just so delighted and fortunate to have her and her wisdom here in Michigan. It's a delight to be with AARP in this special time, Women's History Month, talking about how women can redefine their careers after age 50. And I have some fabulous guests to bring on the stage to have this conversation with you. As Brenda and I talked, we wanted to make sure that we could bring to you a mixture, a variety of stories and strategies and the ups and downs and the failures and the high notes and the low notes, so that you can, in fact, find this to be very valuable. So I'm delighted that Lorna G. Utley, who is a mostly retired nonprofit CEO who successfully reinvented herself after a long career as a human services executive in the automotive industry. She made a major career pivot from corporate HR to public policy leadership, and then to serving as the full time CEO of Goodwill Industries, a major nonprofit organization with two distinct careers, automotive and nonprofit leadership. Lorna's journey does show how skills and experience can transfer across industries and create new opportunities even in midlife. A Phi Beta Kappa graduate of Purdue University with both a BS and an MS in business and industrial relations, Lorna has called Detroit her home for 40 years. She enjoys golf. We've played on the golf course together, baking, reading, antique dolls, and doing daily word puzzles with her husband. They share a home with their dog Linus and are proud parents of two sons and grandparents of two. So meet Lorna Utley. I'm glad she's joining us on the stage. How you doing,
I'm
Lorna?
good, Geneva. Thank you for that very kind introduction. It sounds pretty good when somebody else talks about you. So thank you.
We're delighted to have you. And then I want to bring to the stage the Honorable Maureen Stapleton, who is a dynamic leader and successfully reinvented her career across education, government, and community development. A graduate of Howard University and Bowling Green, She began as a teacher in the Detroit public schools, shaping the lives of young people, then transitioned into government, creating programs for youth and managing major community development projects in Detroit, Indianapolis, and Columbus, Ohio. In her 50s, she made another bold move. She ran for public office and served in the Michigan House of Representatives, representing Midtown Detroit. Most recently, she stepped back into nonprofit leadership as interim executive director of Midtown Detroit, where she continues her commitment to transforming communities. Her career is a powerful example of how to pivot with purpose, impact, and service at every single stage. So welcome, Maureen.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Geneva. That was wonderful.
Oh, it's just wonderful having you both here. I want to jump right in because people are going to want to hear from you. Remember, we want your questions or comments as well. Let me start off with just a basic question of what inspired your career changes after 50? Were they deliberate choices or did life push you in new directions? Lorna?
Well, I can answer that very quickly. I thought I had a plan. I was doing 30 and out at GM, and then I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then GM had a different plan for me. They asked me to leave when I was 52, made me an offer that was quite generous. As I look back, it was the right thing. And then I floundered a little bit, but found my passion when someone at Goodwill said, would you like to do this job, which was vice president of development? And I said, no, I'd be interested in being your CEO. And I seized the moment, so to speak. I knew I didn't want to be someone raising money. I wanted to run the organization. And so the change at GM was not welcomed, but it was the best thing that happened in my entire life.
Wow. That so much resonates, particularly today as we see what's happening across the country with layoffs and these packages that are being given to people or being offered, et cetera. And so you were able to turn that around, even though it wasn't in your plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maureen, what about you?
Well, Dr. Geneva, some of my transitions have been deliberate and some of them have not been my choice. But what has driven each next move is something that Lorna mentioned, my passions. I'm always very focused on staying true to who and what I am. And so my passion for administration, my passion for organizing things, my passion for helping families and specifically children in families has driven my career from the time I was a teacher to the time now I'm running just finished running an organization that manages community and economic development for 20,000 people. But I've always looked to what is it that brings joy to me? What is it that makes me happy? And whether that pivot was deliberate or something else, it was always what's next that is related to my passions.
Okay. So keeping that, what's meaningful to you at the center of things, sometimes that's a hard thing to do. So how do you do that?
Well, in the cases where it was a choice, it was knowing that in order to get better at something, then I needed a different kind of an experience.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to help children in the city of Detroit. And I knew that I could only touch 30 a year in a classroom. And so trying to figure out how to take that to the next level allowed me to become a part of city government and run the City of Detroit Youth Department, being the #2 administrator there. And I wasn't 30 because I wanted to do something else in the same area to make children and families stronger. So that's what's woven throughout my career.
Yes. So those back and forth, keeping that passion. One of the things that research shows us is that many women over 50 are ready to make a career move, but there are things that hold them back. Outdated beliefs, myths like, it's too late to switch careers for me. You have to take a major pay cut. It's too hard to learn new skills at my age. Nobody's hiring people over 50. And the big one, perhaps, it's just too risky financially. So I'm sure you've heard these myths and probably maybe experienced them yourself. But what do you think is the biggest myth or misconception that you personally faced in making a career change? And how'd you overcome it?
Well, I'll jump in here. I think that in my case, I had to step back and say, what skills did I have?
Okay.
But I also had to convince myself I didn't need all the skills to take the job. You know, men say all the time, I can do that, whether they can or they can't. And I think women often, myself included, initially said, oh, I can't do that. And then I thought, yes, I can. And even if I can't, I'll fake it until I make it. And I think a lot of women shortchange themselves in thinking they have to have all the skills before they take a job. And when they do that, they're almost over prepared and it could be too late. So you got to have now, having said that, I'm a big believer in, okay, you want to make a change, figure out what that is. If you're not forced into it, hold on to what you've got until you figure out the next step. But if you're forced into it, make finding your passion and a new job your full-time job. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Okay. What do you think, Maureen, about the biggest myth or misconception that you faced and how you overcame it?
So one of the things that happened in the middle of my career is that I worked for myself for quite a few years, doing organizational development work and working to make organizations and people stronger in a variety of different ways. And the biggest misconception that I had was when I called myself a consultant of my own company, people said, oh, she really doesn't have a job. or she's just in between. No, I was making more money doing that than I was actually in the 9-to-5 working for the city of Detroit. And so what I would say is to people, don't worry about other misconceptions or preconceptions of what you're doing. Stay focused on your passions and where you want to go and drown out the noise. And so that's what I had to do.
So even though those myths are out there and, society tells us things and what have you, to do our best in looking inward to what we want, what our passions are, where we'd like to go, what we want to do, and just go on and do it. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Am I hearing that?
Yes, you are. And I would like to add, it's okay if you make a misstep. I think a lot of people, when I talked about how I went from GM to Goodwill, I did have a little thing in between. I never made any money at it. It was kind of a stopgap. I thought I wanted to do it. It didn't work out, but I look at that as just as valuable an experience as making the right step. And so I think a lot of people say, oh, I make a misstep. I'm not going to put my toe in the water again. You can't do that. You got to say, okay, I got to try again.
And take that nugget that Lorna just said and realize the exact opposite happened for me. I took a leap of faith and it worked out.
There you go.
And so I guess the moral of the story is be nimble. Failure isn't the end. And success is neither. You have to continue to try and do in order to continue to be successful.
And it's a 50-50 chance either way, Hey.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things that we know, I want to bring this question up that I hear often from women, and the research says this AARP's own research indicates that nearly 2 in 3 adults age 50 plus, 65% of them say older workers face age discrimination in the workplace today. And nearly all of them, 90%, believe it's common.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you, how do we flip the script on ageism and show that experience is the new competitive edge?
Well, experience you can't pay enough for. And what I have found is that when you have that experience and you can prove that that experience gives you the upper hand and you go in believing that it gives you the upper hand, then your confidence and your ability to produce is the carrot that makes people go along with you, right? I believe that it's important to have that experience. It's also important to train the next generation. Part of my career was in politics, and I think there's a struggle across this country in getting younger people to commit to that game because they haven't been trained properly, right? And so I think part of using your experience is going in knowing that that experience, they can't pay you for all that you know and do, but also make a commitment to training those that come behind.
Yeah, and I tend to think you just identified, some real gems, some real value in being over 50 because of that wisdom that you do get because you've been through some stuff. You've been through situations and crises at home, in the family, on your job, everywhere you've been through, and you've developed this cadre of wisdom and connections. And then I often find too that for women after they've turned 50 and they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, that this whole notion of legacy and helping others grow is very important. That moves up in what we believe is a priority. So I appreciate you bringing that to us.
I would only add
that
wherever you are, always raise your hand. Say, I can help you with that. And perhaps you design it so that it works for you, whether it's 2 days a week, 3 days a week. You give the opportunity for people to understand what you have to offer, but there's value in it, and they need to recognize that. And I think we again sell ourselves short and don't want oftentimes to put ourselves out there and say, hey, I've got something I can offer. And this is how I can help you. Not that you need to help me. And I think it's all how you go about asking it or presenting it.
Yeah, and this whole notion about flipping the script.
Exactly.
I'm not convinced it's just for us over 50 either. Right. Because I remember when I started my career, the ages in my face was, you too young. She don't know nothing. Let her sit over there in the corner. She thinks she all that, but she don't know nothing. And then when I got in my midlife, it was a lot of, well, do you think she can do that? She got family at home. She got other responsibilities. Can we depend on her to show up? And then, when she come to work sometimes, she ain't always, on point and that was because of probably some health issue I was dealing with, either menopause or something that I didn't even know was going on. Okay. And then as I got older in my 60s plus, it became, is she still relevant? Ain't she old? So too old. So I think particularly as women, we face ageism almost at every stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't ever be talking about your age. Talk about your experience and what you can do.
That's right.
Don't let your people that you work with can't say, well, you can't do that. You've got kids at home, or you can't do that. You've got parents
Right.
at home.
That's
You
right.
let me decide what I can
What
do.
I can do.
That
Absolutely.
I happen to me at every stage, just like you talked about, Geneva.
Yes.
Let me decide what I
Yes.
can and can't
Yes.
do. You decide for me.
Yes.
Have you faced that too, Maureen, that ageism?
Absolutely. I was
Mhm.
27 when I had to manage people for the first time in city government. And
Mhm.
people said, she's too young, she can't lead. What are you doing?
Mhm.
And now I wonder, and in life and where I am, whether people are looking at me saying, well, she's been around a long time,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But me being around a long time also means that I know a whole lot of folks
Mhm.
and can be a benefit to any organization that I sit in, because I have connections that I've built through my career and have done the networking necessary to bring those benefits to any organization I'm a part of.
Exactly. And that's the point of things. I think in this conversation about ageism, particularly focused on those in midlife,
Right.
to reframe and understand what your experience and wisdom brings.
That's right.
And, there are lots of younger people who would love to have the experience and wisdom that we bring by just walking into a room, because we can look at what's going on and probably identify the problems and forecast what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to take that experience and work with it. So, talking about experience, many workers over 50 feel they lack the necessary experience and skills to transition into a different field. Now, all of you have made that transition into different fields. And that's probably why identifying and marketing transferable skills, this whole conversation about transferable skills. So I want to ask each of you, what practical steps did you take to prepare for your career shift into different fields? Did you do the training or the networking or find a mentor? What happened? Give us some 1, 2, 3s that you did.
Okay. Well, I would say I probably did all three.
Okay.
I informally and formally connected with people that, like CEOs in the nonprofit, I found that it was very valuable to connect with those people who weren't in the same organization necessarily, but were CEOs of a nonprofit. I did take some extra training.
Okay.
And I thought about that. I'm a big believer in sponsorship in the corporate world. I didn't do as much of that in the nonprofit world,
Okay.
but there were people that I connected with that I would consider mentors. So I think I did it all. And frankly, I think you shortchange yourself if you don't expose yourself to all sorts of different opportunities to enhance your skills or learn new skills.
So I'm hearing that learning new skills was a big part of your shift.
Yeah, I would say, and I also would say that you identify that a lot of the skills you brought with you are applicable to the new opportunity. I think Maureen mentioned, administration or managing or leading. All of that is transferable. Maybe you don't know the exact program that Goodwill was doing, for example, and you need to learn that, but you know how to lead or encourage or inspire people like you did in your previous opportunities. So I'm a big believer in not shortchanging what you bring to the party, but keep it sharp and keep it fresh.
And what you're also saying is you definitely have things to bring to the party.
Exactly.
And making sure we can identify that. Mo, what do you think?
So in addition to networking, which I did a lot of, and getting additional training wherever I could. If there was a class offered, I took it. If there was an opportunity to get trained in doing something different, especially as it related to administration in government, I took it. The other thing that I did was I leaned into professional organizations that could help me grow and develop. So ICMA, the International City County Management Association, some of the personnel, human resource organizations that were around in the 90s. I leaned into those organizations because they helped me get that training, get the networking, but also become a part of the broader community of folks in my fields. Okay. So I think if I had anything to add to what Lorna said, which was perfect, was lean into your professional organizations because they can be a real support as you grow and develop.
That's a good one. Yeah. I also know that volunteering can help as well. So that, for example, if you're interested in going into the nonprofit world, you can find an organization that you have a connection with, a passion with, and volunteer there. You can learn so much about what goes on. The other thing is your boards. You know, if you're on a board or a group or a committee, oftentimes people, you know, you can learn different skills and connect and get connections in that way too. Those are some good ones, some practical steps. You got something else, Maureen?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the boards that I've been on. And interestingly enough, many of them are related to things I'm passionate about. I was on Carmano's Cancer Institute board. My mother died of cancer. I've been very interested in cancer and cancer research for a number of years. So I took my passion and turned it into a board opportunity where I was able to network with people I would have never met, but for that experience. Same with the Girl Scouts of Southeast Michigan. And so I think your point about boards and board development and volunteering, absolutely on point. Absolutely on point.
Yeah. I would encourage people, women who are thinking about a change, that is, and going perhaps from a corporate mid-management type experience, to get out there and volunteer, to get the experience in something they're passionate about, so they can see if that's something they want to do without leaving behind that security of a paycheck.
Exactly.
But it's a great way to learn about a different part of the work world, nonprofit, like Maureen is saying. And that's pretty non-risk. It's pretty, you know, and you're doing something great for other people. I mean, you can feel good about being involved and learning something. So,
and you can expand your network,
exactly,
your connection.
You know, I cannot emphasize enough that you have to continuously have your eyes open for the next opportunity. I would not, you know, when the person said to me at Goodwill, I was on the board there, they said, hey, we'd like you to be vice president of development. And I said, just because I knew how to give away money doesn't mean I know how to raise it. But if you're interested in talking to me about the CEO job, let's talk. Which I seized the moment. It wasn't on a job list or whatever. Not that you can't find a job that way. I would recommend that you do it all. And that's why I said earlier, looking for the next opportunity is almost like a full-time job. And if you have the situation like I did, where you were pushed out and had to do it, all the better, because you've got the time to do it. So.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we've got a couple questions that have come in, and I definitely want to make sure that we respond to them. So there's a question from Bonnie who's asking about ageism. She says that as I age, her colleagues often assume that she has less and less to contribute rather than actually listening to what she has to share. And then she asks, have you experienced this and how did you address it? So I know we touched on this, But if anybody has any real specifics that you've experienced, and Bonnie's looking for, maybe 1, 2, 3 things she can say or do.
Well, one that immediately comes to mind, Bonnie might be uncomfortable in doing it, but when somebody makes that assumption and maybe makes a contribution that you have already said in the meeting or whatever, just call it out. Hey, I just said that and I added this and that to whatever that comment is. You've got to be your own best advocate. Nobody cares about your career as much as you. They might say they do, but they don't. So when that's happening, and I've had to do it, I'm not comfortable in doing it, but I forced myself to get the credit that I should get in many circumstances. And I think it does get harder as you get older, if you haven't done it, to start doing it. But I would encourage Bonnie to do that.
I also think it's important for younger folks and folks that are you working around to understand your successes. So instead of focusing in on not listening, make them listen, or tell them the stories about the successes that you've had as a result of the suggestions that you are making. It's one thing to suggest, it's another thing to suggest and say, and by the way, when we did this the last time, a positive result occurred.
Right.
So try to find the positive result and connect it to the suggestion, because sometimes people will listen differently when they hear that something was successful versus just an idea.
Yeah, that's a great follow-up piece of
Yes.
it. I mean, I think that's a great suggestion as well. Do both.
Yes. And I think also do both, and let's add a third in here. And that might be that maybe there's something where you can upgrade a skill and come back and be the bomb. You got a course, and particularly if it's in a tech related something.
Yeah.
Something digital.
Yes.
Learned a new program. And you'd be surprised how with all this AI, there's a lot of people who aren't in it, go to a course and learn AI and then come back and drop that gem in your next meeting. Well, when I went on Notebook LM, I discovered that we can da 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 da. And people look at you, okay? But the point is that you can show yourself as being relevant.
Yes.
Because we all face this. Let me tell
Yes.
you hit them 50 years and them candles and stuff and realize you half a century. It's about you ask yourself, well, am I still relevant?
Yes.
And one of the ways to demonstrate your relevancy is to go and pick up some AI or tech skill to keep you relevant. So thanks, Bonnie, for that question. Oh, we've got questions flowing in. What advice can you give someone who has retired with or without a plan and is floundering? I know you were mostly retired, Lorna.
Yeah. I tried to do it a couple times. And I was fortunate enough to find some opportunities where I did things as an interim CEO. So I would suggest, if someone is interested in getting back in the game, they think about perhaps looking for opportunities where they could plug in for a short period of time, see if they like it, make a contribution. As I always said, if they don't like me, they can always fire me. So I think if you're trying to get back into it, you may want to look at what you've done in the past and try to apply it to perhaps a short-term assignment.
I think that is a perfect answer. I needed to return to Detroit for a variety of reasons. I'm over 50. And I took an interim executive director role understanding that it was interim. It was a 1-year deal. Get in where you can fit in. So if you can't find that full-time, long-time position, a short one, a 6-month deal, a 3-month deal. In fact, offer those things to people who are looking, or you see organizations that have a need. I can come in as your 3-month CEO, CFO, CDO, and then shape the position for yourself. I think that's an excellent suggestion. And I'm not retired, nor anywhere near retirement, unfortunately. But use that same tactic to get back where I needed to be.
And sometimes those interims turn into being full-time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I think at least
Yes.
2 of my 3,
Yes.
they said, won't you stay? Now, there's a variety of reasons I didn't stay,
right.
but the opportunity was there.
Right.
So.
Yes. And I know I tried retirement for about 3 days and I didn't like it. So I decided to start my own business, which is something you might consider if you're in retirement, you want to get out, you're kind of floundering. You've got some skills, some capabilities and experience. So you may want to consider starting your own thing. Starting your own business, your own enterprise, doing it yourself. The other thing I would suggest is that you let 2 or 3 or 4 of the folk that you know, colleagues, peers that you trust, tell them where you are. Tell them what you're thinking about. Tell them, be a little vulnerable, that you're floundering, that you really want to get back into it. And how can they help you? People will be there for you. So good luck in that. And don't forget to volunteer. You know, again, if you're out there floundering, you got time, volunteer. Let me tell you, when you go give your time to something, of course, makes you feel good. And then you can make some connections. You know, wow. It'll be wonderful. Let me see. I'll pick up one other. I know Brenda is coming in a moment. Let's see. So, you know, before I lose you all, I want to make sure that we ask this question about what would you say to someone who feels they've missed their window of opportunity? We have some questions in here where people are saying, listen, I've tried this, I've tried that, it's not working. What would you suggest? Have I missed my window of opportunity?
Well, I wrote down, I don't think you ever miss your window of opportunity. And I'll tell you why, because I just had one presented to me yesterday. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I believe, and I just turned 70. So I think it may not come in the form you're looking for. That's why you always have to be with your eyes open about what kinds of things might work. And I empathize with folks. When I left GM, I thought my world was over. And, you know, I probably almost had a nervous breakdown. So I know it's hard. And that person who wrote the question, I've tried and it's not working. Maybe it's not working the way you've done it. Maybe you need to try a couple different ways and recognize what that might be. But don't give up. I truly believe
don't give up.
Maureen?
So I think the first thing I want that person to recognize is that they are not alone. Many of us have been through that same experience, that we've thought we missed that opportunity. Honestly, I thought I'd be in Congress right now.
There you go.
Right? But at the end of the day, I'm helping government. I've worked in government. I'm helping neighborhoods and likely end up in government again at some point. And so, 1, you're not alone. 2, pivot and twirl. Continue to pivot and twirl. If it doesn't work out one way, try it another. But ultimately, if you're focused in on those passions and the things you really want to do, pivot, twirl, and know you're not alone, because you're not.
I love it. I love it. Pivot, twirl, you're not alone. There's never a closed window. It's always there. Really some great gems, along with all the other things you gave us. So
hopefully a few.
yeah, Lorna Utley, mostly retired, and
Today.
the Honorable Maureen Stapleton, who could have gone many ways, including Congress, but we're delighted that she is here, bringing all her wisdom and experience to continue to make our communities the best place to be, both of them in their midlives. Thank you both so much for being here with us. And we're going to bring you back before we wrap up, just for some closing comments.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I know Brenda is going to join us. How you doing, Brenda? Wasn't that a great conversation?
It was good that I was on mute because I was the amen corner back here. I thought they dropped such pearls of wisdom.
Yes.
It resonated with the audience. I'm looking at the comments in the chat. And audience, I just want to say, as I promised, we're going to get a chance to ask some questions of Dr. Geneva. Dr. Geneva is a nationally recognized life and leadership strategist who helps women over 50 navigate life and career transitions to create the life that they love. I mean, that's some fabulous work in itself. That's got to be some healing work too in itself for you and the person that you're helping. She is a former nonprofit CEO and the first woman to lead United Way in Detroit. That's where I first met her. She was fabulous then too. In her 50s, she launched a groundbreaking organization that became a national model for community transformation. After raising over $100 million and leading significant community change, Dr. Geneva reinvented herself in her 60s as an entrepreneur, speaker, and coach. Today, she helps women lead with confidence and build a legacy of purpose and impact after 50. And you do. I see it in the comments that people make on your podcast, that you are really helping them and people are paying attention. She is the honorary Miss Corporate America Michigan. She wears a crown, y'all. She was a pageant winner and a ballroom dancer, proving it's never too late to write your next success story. So, Dr. Geneva, a couple of questions for you. Okay. In your 50s, you left a top leadership role to launch a brand new organization. What gave you the confidence to do that? And how did you make it work?
Well, Brenda, by the time I was in my early 50s, I had been 26 years at United Way. It started at the bottom and worked my way up to the top to become the first woman to lead the organization in Detroit. And it was wonderful. It was a great career, but somehow I knew I wanted something different, something bigger, but it was scary. Because I had been at the organization for so long, but I knew I had to accept the feeling that I wanted change. And so I started talking about it, talked to my husband, told my family, a few trusted colleagues about it. And it wasn't that I was unhappy. I was just ready for my next impact. And because I shared that, doors started opening. And then a foundation leader came to me with a proposal of a brand new national model that was going to be started, no staff, no structure, anything. It was a true startup. Handed the proposal to me. I gave it to my husband. He skimmed it. And then he tossed it back to me and said, "This is you, do it." And I did. But what I learned about that, making that kind of career shift after 50 is you got to accept the call for change. And we know when stuff is inside of us telling us that, we got to accept that call, even if it's scary. And it's important to begin talking about it yourself, talk to yourself, to others, but start that conversation, because in fact, it could bring you even more clarity, particularly when you share it with others. And just stay open to opportunities and trust yourself to step in those opportunities. And as we talked about earlier, not everything gonna work out.
That's
I
right.
mean, it's just not, but you got to keep trying.
That's right. Dr. Geneva, you reinvented yourself in your 60s for the entrepreneur pathway that you're on now. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, being an entrepreneur has risk,
Yes,
but it has opportunities.
it does. It does. But the first thing I tell women over 50 is get serious about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're starting a business or making a career move, you need a financial game plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I left United Way after 26 years to lead a startup, I took a significant pay cut. My husband was not happy at all, but I thought I could do it. I was driven by purpose. And he said, okay, go ahead. And it was tough at first. It took a couple years, but I did rebuild my income after a while and took it higher than I expected. But later on, when I decided to transition into entrepreneurship in my late 60s, I had learned my lesson. It was clear.
Okay.
I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. And so I had a plan. And so that's what I tell women, and we don't talk about that enough, that you got to start with a financial plan from day one.
That's good advice.
Make sure you have that.
That's good advice. Well, we only have a few more minutes. And so I'd like to bring our guests back up. And Dr. Geneva, if you all can have some closing comments, and then I'll come back to close out the show. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. We've got Maureen. I think Lorna had to, if Lorna's coming back, that's the time. I know she had another event. And so if she's coming back, Lorna, come on, but Mo is here. So the question I saw one
There
of
we
the,
go.
oh, here she is. Great.
Yeah, I think I can stay on for the wrap up.
Okay. Oh, that's terrific. Then let's go back to the question. I think this is a good one. This is from Talita. She says she's done all the things we've been talking about. Education, volunteering, professional organizations, except none of them have turned into opportunities. What do you suggest? And so this might be the reason I thought that maybe we could talk about this question is that people may be feeling this in different ways. They might not have done, all the things, but they're not sure where to start. And they're afraid if they do start that it won't work, that they might fail. And what are they going to do about the money? What kinds of steps do you take? And I think if anything that we've learned from the conversation we've had, there have been some themes in our conversation. But let me throw it open to the two of you. How do we address this question and some of the broader implications?
Well, one of the things I would suggest, and again, this might be hard, is to take a step back and maybe go to some of these opportunities or, the people you've taken the courses with or volunteered with or professional organizations and ask the question, is there something that I'm doing that is not making it happen? And that, I think, is some self introspection you've got to do. And that's not easy. But I think if you feel like you've done it all, you got to step back and look at all those things that you've done and get some feedback for yourself as to what you could potentially do differently, or package yourself differently. And that's hard. I'm not going to suggest to Ms. Wilson that it's not going to be difficult.
Mhm.
But frankly, I think maybe the time for that is now.
Mhm.
I think what Dr. Geneva said about starting your own is
Good
something
point.
to truly consider
Mhm.
if you've tried everything. But before you start your own, ask yourself the question that I talked about at the very beginning. And are those things that you have done, are they really something that you're passionate about?
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because oftentimes we do things in life because we have to, not because they bring us joy or that we like them. And so, in addition to the introspection and going out and getting the feedback from those kinds of organizations that you've interfaced with, that Lorna talked about, I would really ask yourself the question: am I truly passionate about what I'm trying to do?
Yeah.
Because your passion for what you do comes through. Quick story, I'm pivoting to another opportunity for a few months and ran across a woman yesterday, and we had a couple quick conversations with her, and she said to me, "You can hear the passion in your voice.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's infectious."
Mhm.
Because what I'm getting ready to do, I'm passionate about doing.
Mhm.
And so that's the bit of advice. And again, as I said to the last question, know that you're not alone. Ask yourself the tough questions, go and get the feedback you need, but ask yourself if you're really passionate about what you've been
Yeah.
trying to do.
I really would echo what Maureen is talking about, because I know when I left GM, I had someone target me and say, "I want you to be my replacement." And he courted me 2 or 3 or 4 times, and I knew I didn't have the passion for his particular organization.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I finally had to say, "Dan, it's not me. And you don't want me in that job." So the flip side of that is finding that passion will probably help that you find that opportunity.
Mhm. And one of the things you might also think about doing, as Maureen was saying, that maybe you step back and look at everything that you've done, and then figure out, well, what can I do better? Or what do I need to do differently? And maybe add some things to that. And again, try to get some training and some skill development, and just keep on with it. It is an effort. But again, I'm just going to drop on you. Think about starting your own business. So many women are doing that these days. They're taking their skills, they're taking their passions, and they're saying, hey, let me jump on out there and do my thing. So that is something you can consider when you've hit that wall, or you feel you've hit that wall.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Find that niche, or make a better mousetrap. If you
Yeah.
say every day something's driving you crazy, maybe that's the new opportunity from a business perspective. So
Yeah.
we all know of all those folks that saw a problem and came up with a solution and had the opportunity to make it their own and their own business.
And then also, let me just drop this. If you see, we don't know if, I think it was Miss Wilson, is in a current job or not. So if you are, look where you are, because there may be some opportunities that you can develop right where you are, that you can see the way things are going in your workplace with your current job that could be done better, that could provide that excitement and passion to you. And so maybe right where you are, you can recreate a new job, a new career for yourself right in your current situation. Just think about it.
Thank you. Thank you all. This was a wonderful discussion. I mean, ladies, you dropped nuggets, pearls, gems. I'm sure the audience is very appreciative, and we want to thank the audience for joining us today. Someone in the comment section said something about volunteering, and Dr. Geneva mentioned volunteering. If you're interested in volunteering with AARP, it's in the comments section. For future virtual and in-person events, you can go to aarp.org, and you can go to the AARP Michigan page to get our events. If you are a member, you may be getting an email from us twice a month telling us about all of the Michigan events. We appreciate you in the audience, and I appreciate this panel discussion. It was just a wonderful, wonderful Women's History Month opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you.
It
Yeah.
was.